Hello everybody, I will read my things in English. Before starting the online competition, it seems very relevant for me to discuss the topic the fear of recording. I would like to say that in one way or another, everyone is confronted with this. We freeze when we hear the word action, record, a kind of start. Why does this happen and how do you overcome this psychological barrier? After all, everyone has their own feelings and a source that interfere with concentration and most importantly, the feeling of being faced with a task that needs to be overcome. It seems the microphone is some kind of judge watching you closely that can witness what you do. These barriers prevent being able to fully achieve the best results, which are sometimes achieved live. In fact, live stage anxiety can also negatively affect the quality of the performance obtained before an audience. The cause for all this is doubt. Suddenly, it doesn't work because there might not be a second time on stage, and in the case of a recording, it might uh, be necessary to record. When sources like this overwhelm the performer, even sometimes an experienced artist, the result is critical. Naturally, the performer become vulnerable, is not confident and seek outside support. Many students and teachers are faced with this. Everyone has their own methods of solving this problem, and we are gathered here to share our experience, which may be of use to someone. I would like to tell you about my personal experience and what I use in teaching practice. While still being a student at school, after having plunged into the working atmosphere of learning, tasks were set in the form of exams, concerts, competitions, which had to be prepared and improved to show the best results. Naturally, the fact that you are being judged with a critical eye scared me. On the other hand, there was a preparation process that helped with personal development. But even after obtaining good results in class and with a teacher, the one stage sensation was completely different when live in front of the jury. It was necessary to prepare for it, to accumulate the experience of on stage well-being in one's arsenal. Of course, the more live performance there were, the more confident I felt. If something worked, I'd be sure to pay attention to these moments and consolidate my inner feelings on the possibility of such a result. If something went wrong, I didn't fixate and get stuck on the mistakes because when we think we have no right to be wrong, we usually get it wrong. I often have to explain in Europe what Bayan is, or rather who Boyan was, namely the storyteller who with his singing legend with gusli string instrument fascinate those who listen to him, evoking in them an emotional state from a specific imagination. Therefore, the performer on the accordion or other instrument must also invite the listener into his im- imagined musical world and carry them with him. It is such a performance that becomes alive, special, sincere, and exciting. Becoming a performer like a conductor that find invisible contact with the so-called orchestra, his listener or public. He has a story to tell and he leads the musical movement by unveiling where to follow it. I think it is possible to identify and educate the individual uh, qualities of students as an adult artist and to do is from school. Guide them in the right direction, but also to leave them the freedom of choice and personal research to develop their independence. In the way of self-assertion, the recording and analytic listening of one's playing allows the student to discover many new things. Sometimes to hear that they have not paid attention to during the interpretation. But the process of self critics must also take place within the individual work. In class, the lesson, it is absolutely necessary to find positive moments for which you can praise and consolidate the feeling of a good results. Of course, after that, we must indicate how we can repair what has not worked, where we can do better, and propose to repair it again, do a record. You can become accustomed to the microphone, the camera, and even learn to enjoy it. Focusing on other, more musical tasks. Listen and conduct the melody, control the movement of accordion bells, become alive and emotionally experience various musical characters. Get carried away with the musical interpretation without thinking about mistakes. Fill your consciousness with the necessary source and do not let doubt enter to sow panic and fear. If the recording is done in class with the teacher, be patient. And if at first time doesn't work out, focus on the successes and move on to improving further performance, future performance. I often use the recording in class with the student so that he can hear himself from the outside and together we discuss in detail and find solution. And only then do we use the camera. For me, recording is very useful and development and should be seen as a good thing. I will name three working way to manage stress in front of the camera that I use with my students. First, work with a mirror. The accordionist sit in front of a large mirror and in order to see and play a piece for himself, preferably at home without the presence of others near. I developed criticism, how I would like to see myself from the outside. During this practice, the students chooses the image they like themselves, which increases their self-esteem. The second way is to teach the child to record themselves with the simplest device. You can use a smartphone, for example, and to give them the possibility to register and re-register without the presence of others around, as many times as needed until they are ready to share the recording with you, parents or teacher. It may not be the same day, uh, no need to insist, but you should give it a time limit, such as a week, for example. When viewing the recording with a student, first of all, note down any success they have achieved, even if their progress was minimal, and note that they are very photogenic as a person, and that the camera likes them. Because the fears of childhood, as well as sometimes the fears of adult, are often associated not with the way they perform the music, but with concern about their appearance from the outside. Again, self-esteem as a person. Then you can get the attention with loading question. What will you correct in the performance of this piece and how can we improve in future? And discreetly direct their attention to places for improvement. When such work becomes a habit, the child will not only become calmer in front of the camera, but will also learn to ask questions and to look for their own face within their music ex- uh, expression. Then the performance in public, making it a daily habit to pay for someone. Start with a benevolent, kind audience of one or two people, parents, friends, acquaintances. For young artists, this can transform the playing techniques, home concert with a poster, the name, mom or dad in the role of presenter, after the performance applause. The children very quickly cling to this game and they like to be the main character of an event. Afterwards, within this circle of guests, to people who are not very familiar, when they went to their classmate and playing concert composed with other artists. From my experience, I would like to say, don't be afraid to praise the students because all of their fears are mainly based on low self-esteem. Kind regards for all.